Hi there, and welcome to the Multiply You podcast, where we showcase top experts in their space and reveal all the secrets you need to know to multiply you.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Austin Clark here with the Multiply You podcast. Very excited to be able to introduce my great friend, Dr. Jeremy Weisz. We are interviewing business leaders and experts in their space, especially as it pertains to the home services space. Today, we're flipping the script. Jeremy's going to interview me. He has just done thousands and thousands of interviews with top performers, CEOs, and great business people across all types of industries. Jeremy, thanks so much for being on today. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Austin. And we're going to talk about something, and it's going to be, we call it financial suicide. That's a no-brainer. Okay. You'll have to wait to hear what that means. I couldn't wait to hear what that means, and I haven't even heard the full story on it. So financial suicide, that's a no-brainer. But before we talk about it, this episode is brought to you by Moxie Pest Control. And if you've listened to the podcast, which you should, he said, Austin, you've had some amazing guests on. The number one focus for Austin Clark and his team is buying other pest control businesses. So if you know someone with a pest control business with 3 or more trucks and it's a respectable brand, they'd love to talk to them. And there's even been cases, Austin, I know, that the people that you're talking to, they weren't even interested in selling. They never thought they could sell for the amount that you paid for it. So if you have thought about maybe retirement sounds good, or maybe I don't want to run all the pieces of my business anymore, and I just like doing the things I like doing, well, you can text Austin or email aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com or text him directly, 480-254-9730. And if you go to the main website of their national team, he won't get it. So you have to email him directly. So first of all, I want to talk about this financial suicide that's a no-brainer, Austin. But before I do, what are some past episodes that have been fun? Maybe like 2 past episodes that people should check out of the podcast.
We did a couple. These haven't dropped just yet. By the time you're listening to this, obviously they will. But one that I really, really liked was a good buddy of mine, Brett Larson, over at EMyth. What he and his firm does, they specialize in telemedicine, which is particularly relevant today, just because of the current climate and the pandemic and all of that sort of stuff. Brett is in the telemedicine business, but what he does and what he's about is marketing. He is a master marketer. On this podcast, we're going to have lots and lots and lots of perspective and people that are experts in marketing, because especially early on, the phone has got to ring, the forms have got to get filled out, the agreements have got to get signed, and your business isn't going to be going very far without profitable revenue. And so if I were interested in that, I would certainly check out the one with Brett Larson from EMyth. He did just really, really awesome. Another one that stands out too, and it's not like the most interesting topic in the world, but another good buddy of mine, Guffey Wright, over at the Mahoney Group. I thought that he did great on the show. And, a lot of business owners, especially, they think about their insurance cost as a cost, and it's not. It's an investment. Everyone hates paying that bill until they need it, right? And then you think, oh my gosh, you know what I mean?
Thank God.
Is my insurance up to date? Is my insurance up to date? And I can't share too many details, but just 2 days ago, we had a not so great thing happen in one of our locations with an employee that was injured. Everyone's okay, everything's fine, but my first thought was, oh my gosh, is this person okay? Right? Are they going to be okay? And then you start to think about, what can we do to be able to help and provide support in the meantime? Well, I really do think that one of the main things business owners can do to provide support and comfort and help to their employees is to be properly insured. And so I thought that he did that piece really well, changed some paradigms. and just maybe open some people's thoughts and minds, certainly mine, to insurance and maybe some best practices when it comes to being properly insured and insurance itself.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to check those episodes out. Thanks for sharing that. And this is part of this topic is, we talk about the EMyth pest control contractor. You actually are writing a book. If someone's listening to me, you wrote a book with Michael Gerber of the EMyth. If you haven't heard of the EMyth, check it out. I don't know how many copies it sold. It's probably one of the most of, business books out there. And why most pest control companies don't work and what to do about it. But this applies to more than just pest control companies. And so I'd love for you to, when I say financial suicide, that's a no-brainer, what am I talking about?
Exactly. So here's kind of the backstory, and it happens every once in a while in I guess maybe any industry, but especially when companies are really growing and really scaling. So a large part, especially in the early days, about how we grew or used to grow, and some locations still do, is via direct sales. It's a super competitive approach. It is a costly approach. But it's also very, very unique. And if you can get that figured out, then you've figured something else out that a lot of competitors haven't, or people in the industry haven't. It is a lot of time on the road, lots of phone calls. I mean, it is whatever anyone's thinking about work and how hard that is, multiply that by 5 or 6. I mean, it is so much time, so much effort, so much work. And so what had happened is, I opened my company. Moxie's been around since the early 2000s. Each location is individually owned and operated. I opened my location in 2011. And in order to be able to do that and grow the way that we do, from $0 in revenue in a 3-4 month period to $1 million in revenue, or $1.5 million in revenue, we initially would open new markets with direct salespeople that you've had relationships with for years, and you are year-round training, developing, mentoring, that sort of thing. Every once in a while, especially as a company grows and scales, perhaps a bad apple or two creeps in. And we were selling a lot of accounts. We were growing. We were expanding. And I guess the long and the short of it is just that we've also got rules, but more than that, we've got our purpose internally of improving the quality of life for our customers, team, and community. We have team talents that are very, very important to us. We'll probably dig into that a little bit more. And we have impressions that we like to leave with people, and specific ways of how we do that. I think it's all on our website. It's not a secret at all. And we one of the things about one of the cultural aspects about companies is that if you are not willing to hire or fire based on your core values, then they're just not core or values. They're neither of those things. They're just words on a wall, really. And so, there was some things going on with this, a particular team, I guess you could say, that were against those values. And so it was a very, very large multi-million-dollar revenue stream. Some people that I was really close with, good relationships with. And we just said, guys, what's been going on is against our values. And we just don't, we're done. We don't have positions. We're not doing business like this or conducting ourselves like this. And so, a lot of people ask, man, was that hard? It was hard because of the personal aspect of it. But as far as like the decision, no, I didn't make that decision then. I made that decision when I was 10, years old, 12 years old, 15 years old, kind of deciding about what kind of person I wanted to be. Right. And so, and since it's one of the things that I really respect and appreciate about the Moxie partnership is I see them do things, the other 9 partners in the company, I see them do things all of the time that are not in their financial best interest, when it would be easier to, let that one slip or let that one slide, or
The slippery slope, right?
Yeah, it is, right. It is. And so that was that instance. It was a while ago. I think that we've learned from those experiences. and have found ways with employees or independent contractors moving forward that we can really iterate and drive home, hey, these are the things that are really important to us. And we would hope that they would be important to you too. We don't expect that you're perfect, but we would expect that you do strive to be a little bit better with them today than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was that.
They, in the moment, like looking back, we said financial suicide is a no brainer, but really if someone has a very lucrative income stream, coming in revenue stream, there's just still a part of us is like, oh God, this is the right decision, but man, I wish it didn't have to be this way. So in the sense it just is a push pull. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I want to dig into some of those values and some of the purpose and team talents and things you said. But before we do, also on the flip side, um, hiring someone to those core values, what would be an example of that and what happened?
So the employee that comes to mind, and it really is unfair to single someone out because today we've got over 100 employees. They are all incredible in their own way and in different ways. But one of the people that I'm the very proudest of is my office manager. Her name is Eleni Trinchet. She is absolutely incredible for, I know we don't have 5 hours to talk about all of this, but if I could summarize some of the things that I love the most about Eleni, first of all, she's an immigrant from Costa Rica. And the reason I really love that is because she has a different perspective, a different culture, different upbringing, different ideas, and they're very, very valuable. She, grew up basically on a farm, and you think about the things that happen on a farm, right? She came to the United States, I think in her late teens or so, and moved to Florida. And then just a few years, and she's, the other part of it too is she's very, very young. She's in her mid-20s, and she quarterbacks our entire operations when it comes to our office. And not only that, but she does it from Miami, Florida. So immigrant from Costa Rica, came to the United States, Florida, stayed there for a while. That's where most of her family is now. Moved to Phoenix. That's when we got in contact with one another. She started from entry level, answering phones, processing paperwork, collections, you name it, and was able to demonstrate, the talent, I guess, that I'd like to emphasize with Eleni is competency. She is extremely competent. She follows instructions. She can follow a process, very processes driven. To just a couple of short years later, she's only been with the organization for 3-4 years. She has expanded. She's grown. She's been stretched. She really does command the respect of all of those that report to her. She's a tremendous asset, and so when I think about really positive people experiences and employee experiences, Eleni certainly is at the very top of that list. Very, very lucky to have her.
When we were talking, Austin, you were saying there's a picture on your wall, and I was wondering if you could kind of walk us through. Obviously, most of the time when people have a picture on their wall, unless it's just some random painting, it's usually somewhat meaningful to us, personally or professionally. So what is on that picture on the wall?
Yeah. It really encompasses our entire culture. And this was certainly not a me thing. The partners years ago were involved. All the key people at that time were involved. They've been refined over the last, really 2 decades or so. And we've had some extremely capable people in our marketing department and advising department really clean it up and have the copy represent what we really want it to say. But yeah, it encompasses. I'll actually walk out here right now and kind of show everybody. Who knows what we're going to see right now? But I've never done this before. See if I can flip this thing around. Bing, bang, boom. All right. So here's our lobby.
I've never seen this part of your.
Oh yeah, we'll have to do we'll do like a little office tour thing here. Not right now, but like in a second. So front door, here's our lobby.
Nice.
Kind of got some stuff going on. It goes way back there. But yeah, so this is what it is, right? And it just really clearly lines out what our mission is of improving the quality of life for our customers, team, and community. I mean, you'll notice that it says nothing about ants or spiders or bugs or anything like that. Pest control is what we do. People is what we're about, and we want to improve people's lives. And so the vehicle that we use to be able to do that, right, is through pest control. Our values are doing the right thing, being nice. I don't know how well you can see those. Being the solution.
I could see do the right thing. Yeah. Be nice.
Keep improving. And then we've got kind of definitions about what those things mean to us and how we can do that. Our 4 impressions, we want people to think about us as pleasant people that like their job, competent experts, and that this expert's committed to solving problems, making genuine connections. And then over here on this one are our team talents. We want people, and again, we don't expect for people to be perfect, but we would like some of these words to resonate with them of being genuine, committed, collaborative, respectful of property and appearance, nice, competent, self-improving, and safety-minded. And so, I think another one of the things that we'll walk it back now, but another one of the things that we are really proud of, it takes a tremendous amount of time, but it's an investment. Every single month, we do monthly scorecard reviews with each one of our employees, and every manager, every single manager rates every single employee in the company on a scale by those values or by those team talents. We rate them on their outcomes and their job role, but it's something that's front of mind all the time. We talk about them all the time. I think that as far as managing people or developing people, I think it's good to be able to push them to aspire to do more than they might even think that they're capable of, in a way that's positive with values and things, things like that we just reviewed.
Austin, I love that. I'm gonna have to re-listen to that a few times because I know I didn't catch all of it. It will take me a few times to sink in, but I really like the framework of that. And I have one last question before you answer it, which I'd love to hear of any favorite books that stick out when it comes to people or talent or anything like that. But before you answer that, I encourage people to check out, if your book is out, check it out. EMyth, Pest Control Contractor. Check out more episodes of the podcast. And if you know someone who is maybe or has a respectable brand in the pest control, email Austin A. Clark at moxiepestcontrol.com. I'll start first with the books. One of my favorites of all time is the oldie but goodie, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It is a classic. I try and read it once a year. And it's so many lessons in there. So I'm curious of one or more of your favorites.
I think that you nailed it. That was the first one that came to mind for me.
Oh, was it?
Oldie but a goodie.
Shoot, you took it.
Yeah. I'm going to go first next time. No, I've got a couple of other to rattle off, but it is incredible, and it is an oldie, but it is a goodie. People are they're people. They're psychologically motivated, and there's a lot of psychology that goes into people, right? And so I think anything that has to do with psychology, one of my favorites as far as being principally based is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. I think that will teach you a lot about you. I think that it'll teach you a lot about, your circle of influence, those that are around you. I mean, that is, not quite as an oldie as, how to win friends and influence people, but it is definitely a goodie. One that's a little bit more technical is Top Grading. Dr. Brad Smart wrote that one. And that's more for hiring and recruiting. But I think that there's a lot of forms and case studies in there that will help you to learn more about people and finding your ideal employee or candidates, sort of thing. And then see what else.
You've mentioned, Vern Harnish's book, Scaling Up. I think I don't know if it's a section on people or a chapter. So you've mentioned that book a bunch too.
Yeah. There's a section in Vern's book, Scaling Up, on that. I'd really recommend that one. That's an incredible book. But yeah, anything when it comes to psychology, anything when it, I think Dale Carnegie's is great. 7 Habits is great. You really can't go wrong with either of them.
Check out more episodes of the podcast. Austin, thank you again.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for listening to the Multiply You podcast. You'll see us again soon when you subscribe for future episodes.